Hello, Verax here, listening to some Grand Elemental and talking about Iiosia. So here I am, talking about Iiosia. I have been working on the Outlands, and this video is just going to be about how the Outlands has developed while I've been writing it over the past 2 days or so, and how I thought it's gone, and how it's gone the way it's gone. The Outlands is pretty much the vast... Well, it's not really that vast, but the northern wastelands that, you know, are at the north of the map. Pretty much every fantasy map in history has the northern wastes, and mine, I'm afraid, is no different. Though I do like to think that my northern waste is slightly different, as in it's not just a wasteland, there is stuff there, albeit it is sort of like spread out and stuff. The Outlands was always going to be home to two sets of people, the Ferian and the Halflings. Now, the Halflings are a bit easier to cover because the Halflings are basically hobbits. Except in my version of hobbits, or Halflings as we'll say here because that's what they are, they're a much more snidey, nasty race of people in general. There are exceptions, but basically Halflings aren't really regarded as nice individuals. They tend to be assassins, thieves, cutthroats, smugglers, that sort of thing. And they're very good at it because Halflings are quite small, they're very good at sneaking, hiding, lying even, and so that's what a Halfling is. Ferians are a little bit different, as in they're basically mutants. They came about basically because of a character that I put into my story, Nerolith, which of course is only half finished, as usual. And there was a character in there called Erin Festegrin, and he was a mutant. He exhibited a lot of cat-like tendencies. He was quite small, and had a tail and ears, whiskers. He's and that's what a Ferian is. Individuals who have varying degrees of mutations based on animals. So they could have horns, fur, claws, even wings. But that's basically what a Ferian is. What I think has gone down here is that magic generally is quite an innate thing. Except for dark magic. Dark magic will corrupt whatever it comes into contact with eventually. A little bit, I'm thinking like radiation. The more you're exposed to, the worse the effects are. A little bit, not going to do a lot. A lot, you know, or smoking, something like that. A lot, and you're going to feel the effects eventually. And I'm thinking that up here in the Outlands, dark magic is sort of like, it's manifested itself within nature magic. Nature magic and dark magic have sort of like got together and a bit of, you know, chicka wow wow, and pretty much just formed this odd myriad of magical energies out there in the Outlands. And so it's corrupted nature magic pretty much to create these Ferians, which were basically people living up there who now exhibit animal tendencies because animals and nature and stuff like that. And they live in a place up here called Fang, which is a dormant volcano. I always thought they would live in sort of like mountain or a cave city or something because they're quite a primitive race of people. And that got me thinking as well, because they live in this sort of like tall structure. There's sort of various mutations within them, and I was thinking about how that would affect their society in general, and that turned to another thought that I've had, like an inspiration I've had for a very, very long time. And this is a bit of a tangent, but it's a Games Workshop board game called Necromunda, which I have some screenshots of here, which is obviously a futuristic gun-toting Warhammer 40,000 style game, very much in sort of the vein of Judge Dredd Mega City sort of stuff, where you as a player have a gang and you control the gang and you develop them. Your models or your characters or whatever have, you know, they gain experience and game skills and stuff. So it's like it's a turn-based tactical game, pretty much, as Games Workshop tend to do, but, you know, a squad-based combat. And that is set in a place called the Spire, which is here, and I've always freaking loved this setting. I think the game was pretty much defined by its setting, because it's such an amazing setting to have this almost 10-mile high spire. I don't know too much about it, at all, to be honest with you. But I just loved how, like, at the top you had, like, the elite, the people who ruled it, and then the further you go down it, the worse it gets, pretty much. And I've always loved that. And to be honest, this setting gave rise for the character Verax, even though, like, he inhabits no, like, semblance of this at all anymore. His first manifestation was as part of a gang in Necromunda. And suddenly, I'm thinking, well, I've kind of got that here, in Fang. The lesser mutated Ferians are at the top. They see themselves as more pure, more human. To be human is to be good to a Ferian, I think. The further you go down in the mountain, the worse things are. The danker, the smellier, the hotter, I suppose. And that's where all the work gets done. They're mining for diamonds and stuff, because, it's a dormant volcano. There's diamonds and there's gems and other things in there that are valuable to the rest of the world. And they go and take it to Hearth, and it's sold from Hearth, I think. Yet to work that out, pretty much. But I can alter the map now, so I can put Hearth down here and make it and change its name and make it a port if I want to, and I probably will. But anyway, so I really was very pleased with the way that sort of, like, came about. How I managed to get Necromunda style setting, because I think that that's sort of like an entity in itself. Fang, with this giant dormant volcano with these different classes within it. And, the overlords ruling over the rabble. I think that's really, really nice. And it really just appeals to me, does that. So, there's that. And then we got onto the Halflings, because then I thought, well, if we have Ferians and Halflings here, why are they different? How have Halflings been affected by this magical mix differently than Ferians? And the obvious answer was that Halflings had a different beginning. They were not human. And of course, the obvious answer is dwarves. Not purely because that's sort of tradition, but also because dwarves are down here, and it's just over there, which is quite a long way away. And this led to this little story that I started writing about a dwarf called Ragnar Fireheart, who was a bit insane, was Ragnar. He was this dwarven adventurer who was like, I want to go across the Sea of Stars, sort of like the dwarven equivalent of Francis Drake. And he gets his band together, this motley crew of dwarves, and he sets sail across the Sea of Stars, avoiding Nethica, because that's a horrible evil place, and yeah, he strikes it. He finds land, and he starts creating the City of Home. Nobody here hears from him for about 4 decades, until finally word gets through. He's made it! He's made it! Ragnar settled on a land north of the Sea of Stars. Hooray! And yes, that's great. So the dwarves like, well, come on back and we'll give you a reward for discovering more lands for the Dwarven Kingdom. And Ragnar's like, well, hang on a minute. Ragnar is, I discovered this place. It's mine. So he says, no, it's not for the Dwarven Kingdom. It's for me and my fellows, if you like. The dwarves don't like that, so they send ships after him. Now, dwarves are not very good sailors, and sort of any manifestation of dwarves, in the entirety of dwarves, they're not good sailors. Nevertheless, they do have some ships to get around, these rivers and stuff that are here. Well, it's not really a river, it's quite a lot. Anyway, there's water. And they send ships after Ragnar. Now, Ragnar pretty much lucked out. He was a lucky bastard, was Ragnar. The rest of them aren't so much. They send a fleet of ships to go and take this place off him so they can claim it for the dwarves. Most of them sink along the way. They get bashed up on rocks here, or, get lost or whatever and end up out here, and because dwarves are not very good sailors. The ones that do make it there, 4 decades have passed. Maybe 4.5 by this point. He's built a dwarf fortress by this point, with docks and battlements and defences, and he can quite easily, can Ragnar and his crew, hold off the attack of these dwarves who have, barely made it across the sea. So he repulses the attack, and the ships are either destroyed or probably one of them makes it back. And the dwarves are like, fine, keep your silly city. So home belongs to Ragnar, and he lives out the rest of his days as the king of home. Yay! But eventually, centuries pass, generations of dwarves pass, and whether it was to do with the small gene pool or the strange magical mix, because dwarves are resistant to magic, but they're not immune to it. So this mix that's sort of like affecting the humans over here would take a little bit longer to affect the dwarves, but this happened. I've put this out of order because the dwarves were here a long time before any of this happened. But yeah, pretty much, centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries ago, home was put here. And over the years, whether it was the small gene pool, whether it was the magic, whether it was the vicinity of Nethica with its odd pulsing magical stone that's within it that has transformed the people here into the Gilth, who knows? But pretty much, Halflings have, they come from home, and then they just go off, wherever they down here, around here. It's a bit cold up here, and they don't really like it too much because, they lose their beards and all that, so they decide to wander off. Obviously, this is the settlement where they are, so there's plenty of halflings here, but it's not unusual for them to wander off, and that is why you find them wandering around down here. Very pleased with all that, and I just thought I'd share that, the way that the Outlands has developed sort of twice, with the development of the halflings, the development of the Ferian, and indeed the development of the Outlands as a whole. So that's three things that has sort of like come together quite well in the space of 2 days, with me sort of like idly thinking at work and just sitting down and writing. So I thought it was really good. Very much enjoyed doing that, and not on the website just yet. I need to, I've been writing a bit here, but I'm going to tidy it up and then probably upload it tomorrow or the day after. But I thought I'd upload that to share my thoughts with that, and to keep it on there just to remember basically how I came to these conclusions of the Halflings and the Ferian. And hopefully that will either inspire you to write your own things, and work on your own projects, or if you have any questions, then please shoot them at me, because I've only done like a brief overview here. So if you've got any questions about anything, ask me and I'll answer you and put it in the bestiary and information on Iiosia.com. So, because I may well have overlooked it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that little explanation of the Outlands, Halflings, and the Ferian. Till then, thank you very much for watching, and toodaloo.